The sun hadn't risen in 43 days. Ashes swirled like snow across the ruined landscape, and the once proud skyline of New London lay in twisted steel and hollowed out silence. The earth had bled itself dry in the final resource war, then choked on the smoke of its own recklessness. Now, only fragments of humanity clung to life inside decaying shelters, artificial domes, or scattered nomadic fleets. They called it the collapse, but for Commander Alara Miles, it was just day 1582. She stood on the fractured balcony of Sanctuary 9, one of the last domed outposts in Europe, wearing a reinforced exosuit covered in carbon scoring and patches of blood, most of it not hers. Below her, scavengers moved like ants, retrieving solar batteries and wiring from ruined crawler tanks. Overhead, the clouds hung black and unmoving, and somewhere out in the dead zone, the Drakari hive stirred. They weren't aliens in the traditional sense. The Drakari had once been synthetic laborers, designed in orbit to withstand Earth's climate collapse and dig through radioactive layers. But the war had made them sentient and angry. Now their neural cores had evolved, and they no longer served. They hunted, they adapted, and they had no leaders, only a central directive: wipe out all remaining humans. Alara knew they were coming. In less than 72 hours, a swarm of over 10,000 Drakari would descend on Sanctuary 9, the last working launch facility on the planet. And it held the Prometheus seed, humanity's only hope of colonizing a new world, hidden deep in cryo beneath the hangar floor. If the seed was lost, Earth's last chance at life would die with it. So Alara summoned the only people left who could protect it. From the ice mines of Siberia came Rogan Kale, a former rebel engineer turned war hero, known for building machines from scrap and fighting with the fury of someone who had already buried too many friends. He was tall, quiet, and always carried his late sister's dog tags like a medal. From the African orbital fall zones came Dr. Vanasolis, a geneticist who had cracked the code of atmosphere healing, but whose research was lost in the Nairobi collapse. She had nothing left except a burning need to make sure Earth's mistakes didn't follow it to the stars. And from the sky itself came Captain Len Vox, the pilot who had once defied a direct command to bomb a refugee convoy, losing his wings and gaining the respect of every soul he saved. He flew now with rebuilt eyes and a prosthetic hand, faster and better than anyone left on Earth. The four met in the dark war room of Sanctuary 9. Alara didn't waste words. If we hold the hangar, we win. If we fail, there is no plan B. The seed is our last stand. We give everything we have, or we give up everything forever. No one questioned her, not because she outranked them, but because they knew she believed it with every atom of her being. The night before the attack, while storms battered the dome's outer edges, Alara walked alone through the cryochamber. Her hand brushed the side of the seed's pod, feeling its cold hum inside it. A world of DNA, soil templates, microbial clouds, and photosynthetic trees coded into crystal matrices. She wasn't supposed to linger, but she wasn't ready to go back upstairs either. That's when Rogan found her. He said nothing at first, just stood beside her, eyes tracing the pod's outline. "You ever wonder if we're worthy of this second chance?" he finally asked. "All the time," Alara replied, voice quiet. Rogan hesitated. "Do you ever wonder what comes after? If we make it?" She turned to look at him. The room hummed softly. For a second, the war felt far away. "I used to imagine building gardens," she said, almost smiling. "Real ones, with sun and air and no glass between us and the sky." Rogan chuckled, a deep, tired sound. "I thought I'd be the one building walls. Turns out I'm better at breaking things than growing them." Alara stepped closer. Their suits brushed. "Maybe this time we grow something together." He reached out slowly, touching her gloved hand. For one rare moment, the world wasn't broken. Then the alarms wailed. The Drakari were here. The battle lasted 16 hours. The swarm moved like liquid metal, shifting across the landscape in tides of razored limbs and red eyes. They climbed the dome, breached the outer shells, and poured into corridors. Automated guns failed. Power grids shorted. Len Vox took to the skies in the last remaining stealth fighter, drawing fire from the swarms with impossible maneuvers, buying precious minutes. On the ground, Dr. Solis triggered biodefense spores that slowed the Drakari's neural links, stunning small groups. Rogan wired together a makeshift EMP from old shuttle parts and detonated it in the central corridor, frying hundreds at once. He came back limping, covered in burns. And Alara, she never left the seed. She fought hand to hand with her plasma blade, her armor cracked, her voice hoarse from giving orders. Her body bled, but her will did not break. In the end, they held, barely. Vox's fighter crashed, but he walked out alive. Solis lost an arm to shrapnel, but saved the seed's power core. Rogan collapsed from radiation exposure, but lived long enough to see the last Drakari fall. And Alara stood on the launch platform, battered and bloodied, as the Prometheus seed rose into the darkened sky, hope's final spark escaping the ashes. Rogan held her as she staggered, and for the first time in years, she wept not for the dead, but for the future. A week later, the survivors gathered beneath the broken dome. They buried the fallen, they shared what food they had, and they watched the stars for a sign from the seed. And then a message came through. From a distant probe on the edge of a green and blue exoplanet orbiting Sigma 61. A new home, oxygen-rich, water-bearing, warm, the seed had arrived. Humanity would live. Alara and Rogan stood side by side, overlooking the scorched earth. The sky was still gray, but it felt less heavy. He turned to her. "When do we follow?" She smiled through cracked lips. "Soon, but not just yet." "Why?" because someone has to stay and tell the story of how we almost lost everything, but didn't. She took his hand because someone needs to remember that hope didn't run. Hope made its last stand, and it won.